And welcome back. Margaret Klein is here today. She's, of course, on the GRF board. And when you usually see her at the monthly meeting, which you will if you stay tuned, and in about an hour, you see her as the treasurer, but she's involved with many committees, aren't you?
Yes.
Busy, 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 busy. And a couple that you're going to talk about, we'll get to the Finance Committee, but the Security and Community Access Committee. And I know the last board meeting, that the regular board meeting, you went in to kind of discuss in detail about pursuing a different security system at some of the gates, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the long and the short is that when the new board took over, when we actually looked at the budget for 2015, since I'm also the treasurer, was looking at the numbers, and for 2015, our budget provided for $2.5 million for this complete security system and $194,000 to design this security system and $57,000 to pay a consultant to come in. So when I couldn't find any needs analysis done, I halted the whole thing and said, let's work backward. And so what we've done is we're never going to spend that $2.5 million. Technology has changed so much that I really believe that it's not necessary to do that. But what we did was I sat down with PCM and my board, and we broke down the security system rollout will now be a pilot. We're just going to use gates 5 and 6 because they have emeritus, they have a high volume, they have a lot of visitors in and out. It's a good testing for us, and we're only using 2 aspects. We're looking at traffic control for the gate ambassadors who are handling enormous volumes of traffic in and out, and visitor control, because now we had these flyers and we seem to have 5 and 6 and 8 and 10 times the number of outsiders coming in here. So that's where we are now. I just met with PCM. We just designed what we want as an RFP to go out, and now we're on a hold waiting to hear back. We did give them 2 names of companies that I had researched and others had researched. So that's where that is.
Okay, and I know that some of the things that were discussed that you're, I guess, kind of looking at is the type of cameras that can read license plates, and there's all different aspects that you're going to look at, right?
You know, nobody could make a decision.
Yeah.
And some people think the gate arms are great. Some people thought they were awful. Some people thought the license plate recognition was great. Some people thought the RFID tags were. So since this is a pilot, what we're asking for in the RFP is what's out there, and we want to try all the options.
Okay.
And I don't know how long the pilot will last, but probably at least 18 months. And then we'll be able to see whether the gate arms are effective, whether the license plate recognition really works, whether we control traffic better, whether we control the visitor flow better. The most interesting thing that I love about this thing is residents, when they call in somebody now, when they get to the gate in 5 and 6, their guest will get a pass that not only has directions on it,
oh, that's nice,
to the person's house, but it has the license plate in it, it has their name, it has who they're visiting, and it has how long they'll be there. And so we'll now have colored paper too, that at the expiration of their visit, the paper is no longer white, it turns red. So security, when they're going around, will be able to see if people are here beyond their stay.
Interesting.
So those passes will really change this paper system that we've been living with that is impossible for security to monitor it. So
I like the idea of the directions printed out, because this is not an easy community
I know,
to
yeah.
get around, and for somebody to be sitting at the gate, and naturally, if they haven't been here before, they're going to, oh, can you give me directions?
yeah.
And this way,
It'll cut
I
it
can
right
see it's,
down.
yeah, speed that up. Very good. Aliso Creek security camera. Tell me about that. You folks were looking
it's
at
all
that at
part
one
of-
time.
What we did with this, there's the lower creek and the upper creek, and there were supposed to be 2 cameras, one at each end for security purposes.
Right.
But once again, when we looked at the allocation, which was $90,000 for 2 cameras, that's $45,000 apiece, we sort of started questioning not so much the need for the camera, but the technology that's available today. So what we did was, Mike Epstein, who's a resident in here, was at the meeting, and he was telling us about Wi-Fi technology that could be possibly used at very marginal cost. And then also, I think it was Gene or Victor from security who said maybe United would be willing to allow an antenna on one of their structures. Anyway, it eliminates
The wiring.
and well, we were told just to start that we could probably do it for half the cost.
Yeah.
So if we know that, maybe we can do it for even less cost. So we're in the research part of this now. I
Very
know it's
good.
been on the system.
It has been.
It's been on
Yeah.
the books a long time, but the creek seems to have its own special needs.
It does. Yes. That's,
Years of
yeah.
issues with the creek.
but then again, as you said, the cameras are probably needed, but the one thing about waiting is that the costs have now come down and technology
And
is advanced.
and the Wi-Fi technology
Yeah.
cuts down the costs tremendously
Yeah.
too. And even what Mike was saying, maybe there's another, he's a ham radio guy, so there might be even another way to tack it up to gate 14 where they have all their antennas. So that's where that is.
All right.
We didn't take it out, we
Yeah.
just wanted to see
Another
a
look, another
Yeah.
way.
cheaper way.
Makes sense. And you authorized Betty Parker to move $1.1 million from facilities fund to investment account.
Right. That's what we moved. That's going before the board today. It was our opinion in the finance committee that we had too much cash sitting around. So this gives us an opportunity to put it in the investable side of the equation
Right.
instead of the cash side of the equation. So I'm pretty sure that'll get approved today.
Yeah, that makes sense. Why not, if you can get some kind of a yield on it?
Yeah, we just thought it was too much sitting around.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing that our committee talked about a lot in finance was, since the new board took over in June, this community is very aware of how much money we have cut out of our budget. We disbanded the $10 million loan, so we don't have all that expense carry moving forward. We eliminated the whole issue of the specific plan, which was costing us millions of dollars with the city, because we found out we don't need it. And then we slashed and slashed and slashed all these other programs. Like the security number, we're keeping the program,
Right.
but we're not looking at a $3 million investment. So what will be interesting is, I've asked Betty, and she said she'll have it at the end of the year. We actually cut so much money out of so many committees, out of the budget, that we don't know where we stand going into 2015. I suspect we're going to have, the residents are going to be happy. Because if we've saved all that money, moving forward, we have lots of allocations to spend money, but I think we will wind up, hopefully, the goal is that residents will get a breather now from these increases in the maintenance that we've been having.
Well, I recall at the last meeting, you made a comment that basically said, we're not here not to spend money, we're here to spend it more efficiently. Effectively, that's what you said, and to look at where it's all going. And if we need it for this particular thing, okay, then we do. But if we don't, or we can rearrange it.
You know that the problem is you're always the hero when you're cutting costs.
Right.
Right? So I think that we have been a hero for all the work that we did, which was amazing in a short period of time. But now we're in the spending part.
Right.
So I'm sure that there will always be people who will be unhappy
Right.
that we're wasting money. But this board, people should be coming to the meetings. It's a pleasant environment where nobody's yelling at anybody. We're really looking for feedback from people, and we listen. So as you can see with the Creek people, they've been in and out, and we've been modifying, or the equestrian center. You know, that issue about the stall was on forever.
The stalls, yeah.
Well, that's resolved. And then we found out that, wow, well, that was all rumor about how we were losing revenue because it was never a working stall. So now the equestrian center's calmed down and happy. They're going to put that what is it called? The comfort center, the
hospitality
center will be back, which they had before. We found out that there's no revenue loss, so we're not passing through any great additional costs to them. And we went back to the old revenue sharing because no, the citizens weren't losing money. So those are the little things that we've done that smoothing out, you know. And as the problems keep surfacing, we have a pretty good board about tackling them and not pushing them aside.
Yeah.
So
one of the problems, not a big problem, but it is a problem to the bocce court people, are the rails that were on the side. I think they used the flexible Trex.
Yeah, it was a shame.
Which is great. On one hand, they don't deteriorate, but they flex. And this was something that didn't work.
They didn't work.
Yeah.
They didn't work. And when we looked at the contract, for those who are thinking, well, why didn't we hold the contractor? The contractor had a one-year contract to fix the thing, but he didn't really know how to fix it. So we went back and forth, and finally, where are we? You know, we have a bunch of people who the courts aren't working right. So the allocation process, remember I said we have to spend money.
Right.
And so now we had to undo what wasn't working and redo what was working. So that we put in also, and I think that should be approved today too.
Okay,
you know,
and
that's
also
gone through all the committees.
Replacing chairs. Got to replace the chairs. I mean, we're talking about the ones in the clubhouses and podiums and things like that.
Yeah, this is through CAC, which is Mary Stone's group. But all the allocations ultimately come through finance. So I'm involved in both sides. So I'm working with Rosemary DiLorenzo and Mary. And we now said there's no such thing in the middle. There's no such thing as a good chair, an okay chair, and a not okay chair. There's either a good chair or a bad chair. So we isolated all of the chairs that have rips and are broken, and this is the first beginning. We allocated $55,000 to buy chairs so that nobody's going to sit on a chair that got a crack in it.
Yeah.
So originally this was allocated, we were going to do Clubhouse 5, and then we decided after extensive talks with PCM that we didn't want to spread them thin. We wanted the residents to see one clubhouse modernized, because that was, this whole board's promise was we would restore these clubhouses so that the paint was good and the floors were good and the chairs were good. So yeah, so we got $55,000 to buy. Originally we were going to buy 600 chairs. I think right now we're going to just work on 3, and then we're going to replace the podiums. And then you'll see over time, the residents will see more and more money allocated for draperies and blinds and fixing floors and painting walls and replacing the lighting. So I'm very excited about that. The realtors will be able to show all our buildings to new residents.
Finally, you're going to begin work. There's the new financial software system that you're looking at.
At my finance meeting this week, Rich Lee came in and Betty Parker spoke. It's been delayed. The rollout's been delayed because this is a very complicated community with lots of corporations, and one piece was missing. But we're getting there. And so what I've done, actually it'll be Wednesday afternoon, is I invited the financial people from all the boards to my house on Thursday to collectively map out what we want in our financial reporting now, so that if somebody goes from United to GRF or GRF to Third, trying to understand hopefully our goal will be that all the financial reporting complements each other. It's not broken up all over. And we're hoping that we're assured that, because I asked Rich Lee about that, and he said, no, we'll be able to give you, meaning us, the boards, the financial reporting the way we find it most effective to use. So that's a good thing.
Very good.
Yeah.
Margaret, thank you for coming here today. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank
All
you.
right. And again, the GRF regular monthly board meeting, if you're watching us in the morning, will follow us at 9:30. If you're watching us midday, it'll follow us in replay at, if you're watching us in the evening, it will be on at 6 o'clock. So you can tune in then. But as Margaret said, please come on down to those meetings, and particularly to these committee meetings, right?
Yeah, because that's where everything happens.
Yes.
Instead of writing a letter to the editor with your frustration, come to a meeting.
Yes, take the frustration to Margaret,
Yes.
right? All right. Thank you for
Thank
being
you all.
here today. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We'll be right back.
That was funny.